Hey free-to-play gang, welcome back to another video. So I know I took a bit of time, I'm sorry, I wanted to test everything out. I wanted to just see everything that there is in the 3.1.7 version before I made this video, so that I can at least give you like a better idea of what are the main things to expect. So first we're going to take a look at Chuan, and then we're going to take a look at his R6 and R2 effects, and then we're going to take a look at some other stuff as well, so some of the very interesting stuff. So let's take a look at his skill 1, which is attacks one enemy 3 times, damage per hit is 40%, which is a total of 120%, with a 60% chance of inflicting misrate up for 2 turns. Very nice. And by the way, these are all max level, alright? So now his third skill first, Guardian Lord, attacks all enemies twice, damage per hit 60% as well, so it's 120% AoE attack, which is pretty decent. Inflicts speed down on all enemies, and grants immunity and speed up to all allies for 2 turns. This is very good. So you are reducing the enemy speed, at the same time you're also giving your team speed, and he has immunity as well, which is like really very helpful for his R6 effect. Later on we'll take a look at that as well. So let's end off with his passive here. Critical hits inflict Third Eye Seal on the target for 1 turn. Now when attacking enemies with Third Eye Seal, summon Screamer to launch an assist attack. And it only triggers once per turn, and Screamer's damage is 25% of your attack, which ignores defense, and Screamer also steals a buff from the target and inflicts Sear on them for 2 turns. So do take note that this effect actually comes from Screamer. It isn't actually a buff that exists for Chuan himself. But the important thing to take note of is he will always channel his dog so long as you have full crit rate, because the thing is all of his hits multi-hit. So as long as your first hit lands a crit, you would be able to land a Third Eye Seal debuff regardless, which would guarantee the rest of your subsequent multi-hits to trigger the dog to attack. But of course the dog only comes out once per turn. So let's see how this works, and I'm actually going to target the Esper at the back just to show you how the dog actually functions with his AI. So we're going to land an AoE attack here, reduce the speed, and yeah, land Third Eye Seal as well, and the dog comes out and attacks the first enemy along with the Sear debuff as well, and stealing whatever potential buffs that the enemy has. So it's very important to understand that the mechanics of the dog is to go for the first target. That's about it. Alright, so let's take a look at his R2 and R6 effect, which benefits his passive here. So his R2 effect is over here. So when enemies with Third Eye Seal are attacked, so this is a change. So previously only he can trigger his dog to attack, but right now all of your allies can actually join in the fight and summon your dog as well, which is really nice. And as for his R6 effect, if Chuan can take action when attacked, there is a 15% chance of blocking the attack. And if the attacker is afflicted with Third Eye Seal, you then double the blocking chance, which goes up to 30%. And I feel like this is really good for Holo Battle, because when you're using him in Holo Battle defense, enemies have to gamble that 15% chance or 30% chance that they are going to get blocked, which means they're not going to do any damage. I think that's what it does, which is a really good 15 to 30% chance of you just winning the fight just because of RNG. So I think him on defense is actually pretty nice. And of course, final damage plus 10%, this actually comes from his R1, which just benefits the dog basically, right? And of course, his captain ability as well increases all allies attack in Ritual Miracle, Sonic Miracle, Desolate Lands, and Sentinel Hunt by 40%. So he's going to be an excellent Esper to use in Fafnir, that's for sure. And as for his max level stats, he has 1242 attack, which I think is the same as Gaius, if I'm not wrong, but his speed is rather low. So he's one of those Espers that you need to move first, right? Because you need to land your AoE attack and deploy a whole ton of AoE debuffs, just so that your allies can trigger your Screamer to land their pursuit attacks as well, to ignore more defense and deal more damage. Well, obviously he needs to be R2 in the first place, but Chuan is definitely going to be one of those Espers that you need to build very speedy so that he takes the first turn ahead of your allies, so that his passive on R2 actually takes place. Now the next thing that I want to talk about is actually the story mode. The story mode is going crazy, dude. So let's take a look at each of these chapters, and if you have completed them before, you will be able to collect the rewards instantly, so just like that. And each of these maps would then give you 150 Nexus Crystals and 1 single gold record, and on top of that you can collect some other rewards along the way. So I think you have like Nexus Crystals along each of these nodes, which is like I think 40 Nexus Crystals per node, which is insane, right? So there is like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, which is 400 Nexus Crystals here, which would then equate to 2 full gold records. But this I think only applies to new players, so if you're an existing player, you will not be able to collect all of these individual rewards again. But at least for new players, you're going to get upwards of 3 gold records, or actually more, right, depending on this as well. Yeah, I see chapter clear reward, 2 gold records. So for new players, you can get upwards of 5 gold records per chapter. And there are 12 chapters, which is effectively 60 gold records, and on top of that you also have an additional 150 Nexus Crystals here. There is a lot of gold records to be had over here. And when you're progressing in the hard difficulty as well, each of these nodes give you an additional 40 Nexus Crystals, which is insane. But I'm actually very curious to know whether does the hard difficulty actually afford you more Nexus Crystals over here, so let's try this out, right? Alright, so we cleared the first one and we got ourselves 40 Nexus Crystals here. Very nice, yep, 40 over here. Now we do get to progress to the 1-2 and let's see whether we get anything. We still get 40 Nexus Crystals, oh my goodness, so that means that all the 3 difficulties, that's hundreds of gold records, dude. That's like at least Right, at least 150 gold records. No wait, it's more than that, it's about 200 gold records. I might be downplaying a little bit. I think there's actually more than 200 gold records within this entire story. Within the story itself. That's insane! So that's looking really good, a lot of rewards for new players. Now the next thing that I want to show you is going to be the Esper fusion, so there are some changes. So the first thing is going to be Everett. Now you notice that he's going to be a little bit cheaper as well, because right now all you really need is just 300 of each of these and one copy of Odette, and you're going to be able to fuse Everett, which is, I think it's a lot cheaper than what we have right now. So ideally what you might want to do now is to farm Dislyte Lens, not to fuse Everett, but to just hoard a little bit of these currencies just so that you can use it, which is like basically when 3.1.7 comes, so that you can fuse him with as little resources as possible. And now Lucas, so the way he works, okay, so you just need Elixir at 5 stars and fully ascended, and that's good enough, so this slot will be permanently fulfilled. But as for these 3 secondary slots, these are a little bit different. So whenever you use one of the Espers, so for example if I put in my Liling here, he will no longer be usable in this slot again, so next time you need to use other Espers around that you have to fill up that slot. The same goes for the other 2 elements as well, so you need a total of I think 21 different Espers here just to fully get 7 copies of Lucas, which I think I would be able to get like on day 1, right? I should be able to fully R6 fresh Lucas from the start. And now for Odette, nothing changed, so I think this is basically like the same. And as for Alexa, so she's going to work the similar way as Lucas, so the layout here just need to be 4 star and 5 ascension, and that's about it. So that's it. This slot will be fulfilled forever. It's only these 3 slots that need to be fulfilled several times. But at the same time, you do not consume any of your used Espers, which is really nice. And now moving on to the shops, because this is the part that I think a lot of you guys are going to be like super interested in. So nothing changed in the friendship shop, so everything here is still the same. Tournament shop is going to look a bit different, obviously. Number 1, gold records are gone. Number 2, you can get Dona Ripples. So it takes you 5 entire weeks to get 1 copy of Dona, which I think is not bad, especially since I feel like his kit might be more towards the meta this time around. Considering that when he gets a full stack, he gains a turn instantly to use his strike, right? So I think that's actually not bad. It's something that I want to explore. I just need 1 more copy of Dona and I am Gucci. So now on to the cube shop. So this is what it looks like right now. You have the Xie Ripple for 500 of this currency, whatever it's called. So you can get 1 copy of Yuzi every single month, which I think is not bad. So it's also one way for you to, I guess, farm mono prisms, which is something that we're going to get at, right, Divine Sequencer shop over here. But let's take a look at club shop. So they have removed the Ripple Op Box, Big Rip, but in exchange they have provided Febreze Ripples, which is really not this is not much. So I'll highly recommend you to fuse all the Febreze copies right now. This is not a steal at all. This is like them stealing from you. 1000 currency just for 10 Ripple pieces. This is not worth it at all, right? If you can, definitely try to fuse Febreze right now. And of course, we have 1 more copy of the Reset Stone, which is going to add on to our weekly cost, right? This is going to add on quite a little bit. I think each of them costs 800 if I'm not mistaken, I think. Now finally, the Divine Sequencer shop. So unfortunately, I cannot see everything here, but I do know the numbers thanks to Nikoni. Huge shout out to you, my guy. So Asenath Ripple here costs 200 of these blue currencies. Thankfully, it doesn't cost you the red currency. So the thing is, it takes you 2 whole months just to get 1 copy of Asenath, but at least it is still a free-to-play option for you in obtaining Asenath, and you're gonna get a whole ton of these currencies anyway. Now as for Dahlia, Sander, and Louis Ripples, they will require 50 of the blue currency, but it's kinda sad that Dahlia is locked behind having 3 level 60 Espers, because I do feel like she's gonna help the early game so much, but unfortunately she's not gonna play that role anymore, because you need to have a few level 60 Espers to begin with, which is it's kinda scummy, I think. So let's take a look at the Esper page here. So these are all of my Espers, and everything excess is actually gone. So you do not have any of your other Experimon, your Starimon and all that, and instead they will just exist in your inventory here, over here as you can see. So it doesn't cause you any clutter, it doesn't add on to your Esper inventory, it doesn't make things a little bit more difficult. So I think this is pretty good streamlining. And as for the events, unfortunately there are no rewind events. So only the Espers who had their skills adjusted would have rewind tickets. So for me, I have the Sander rewind ticket because I have him skilled up a little bit. So there is that. Unfortunately, there won't be a massive rewind event, which is kind of sad. I really hoped that they would have that, man. Okay, but anyway, so now we are at the Miracle Excursion. So this is basically just the trials, right? So the trials is now split into 3 different sections. The first is Excursion, the second is Adventure, and the third is Expedition, which is whatever that we know in the past. So in the Excursion, there is a Sonic Rift, the Sonic Miracle, the Ritual Miracle as well, and the Dislyte Lens. And as for the Adventure, we then have all of these, right? We have the Cube Miracle, we have the Infinite Miracle, and the Calamity Island as well, which unlocks at 11-16. Wait, hold on, 11-16? There is 16? Wait, what? And then obviously there is also the expeditions here as well, which is your usual stuff, right? So let's take a look at the Sonic Rift. So I've done a few runs here, so let's take a look at the 3rd difficulty and let's see what it's all about, right? So just participating costs you 8 stamina, and we can get some rewards. So let's take a look at what we get. So the way this works is just like basically multiple waves. So there are 2 waves here with a turn limit of 30 turns. And you just need to clear the whole wave, which I think is not going to be too much of a problem, especially if you run Espers with a lot of AoE attacks. So for example, Espers like maybe Nama, maybe Jiangman, the usual few, right? Maybe the twins, if you run them with a little bit more damage. So I think ideally you want to run like AoE damage dealers here, and that should be okay. So we did get 5 sub-experiments, which is super cute, and we get 2 basic experiments as well. So this is how you're going to get more of your experiment, right? So essentially it seems like all we can obtain are just experiments. I don't think we can obtain Starymons, I don't think so, but you know what, who knows? And then now moving on to PvP, because there are some PvP changes. So I did a couple of runs and I can tell you that there are no visible changes thus far, but it might probably just be hidden UI. So for example, you cannot tell that they have more HP, right? Which is like, I think they're supposed to gain a certain amount of HP, which I could not find in anywhere. Like there is no button over here or anything like that that would suggest that I can actually view the effects that the enemies have, or rather like the PvP effects. So unfortunately, we just had to take it that their HP is a little bit more increased, and that's about it. Alright, so I think that's it for the main bulk of the changes over here. I've covered most of the things that I think you guys have questions about. If you still have any other questions, or if there's still something that you want me to see, or you want me to test out, or you want me to show you guys, let me know down in the comments below. Anyway, that's it for oh my god, this guy. Anyway, that's it for this video. Hope you guys enjoyed today's content. If you did, don't forget to give a thumbs up. It really helps the channel, and subscribe for more Dislyte content. Now with that said, this has been Free to Play, and as always, I will see you in the next video.